ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
We are back with our countdown of Australia's biggest stories in sport for 2025. Can I get a hell yeah? Probably not. This is a one-way conversation. Hey, last time we talked about back-to-back premiers, a transformative queer community member who was making waves, a high jumper who just keeps jumping higher, and the Wallabies. It was a rollercoaster year for them. Lots of good, fair bit of bad. A reminder of the criteria, Australian stories that resonated with Australian audiences and drove the conversation sports fans were having. Today we're counting from 16 to 13. Let's see what's in store. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Number 16. How do you think most sports fans, most F1 fans, will reflect on the year of Oscar Piastri? We've been told for a number of years the level-headed Aussie is a world champion in waiting, and sometimes when you see those quotes from people like ex-Red Bull boss Christian Horner, you wonder, is that just kind of simply a rival sowing seeds of division? And that is where our Australian sports fan myopia takes over. For our countrymen, it must be real. And bloody hell, didn't it feel legit after 6 rounds of the F1 season with Piastri winning 4 of the Grand Prix?
And the Australian driver will see the checkered flag first. Oscar Piastri wins the Miami Grand Prix. 3 Grand Prix victories in a row.
After 15 GPs with 8 to race, he had an overall lead of 34 points on teammate Lando Norris. Max Verstappen, he was way back, 104 points further back. You only get 25 points for a victory, so in broadcast speak, a commanding lead. Bossing it, as the kids might say, shed loads. What went wrong? Monza in Italy. That felt like a flashpoint. Norris had a shocking pit stop. Oscar led. He was asked to hand back position to his McLaren teammate.
But this is a bit like Hungary last year. We pitted in this order for team reasons. Please let Lando pass, and you're free to race.
I mean, we said that a slow pit stop was part of racing. I don't really get what's changed here, but we really went to do it, then I'll do it.
Now, this was the central plank in a rolling argument from that point on that Norris was being favoured. Aussie F1 fans could see history repeating after other Australians, like Daniel Ricciardo and Mark Webber, had been deprioritised when racing for Red Bull in years gone by. Webber is Piastri's manager, after all. How can't it have fed into his psyche? He wasn't loving life, if we're honest.
What happened with the pit stops, but then also in Baku itself, Friday was tough. Things weren't working. I was overdriving. I wasn't very happy with how I was driving, and ultimately probably trying to make up for that a little bit on Saturday. I think ultimately Baku was the perfect storm of quite a few things, which, obviously it was a pretty terrible weekend. There's no beating around the bush. That was the worst weekend I've ever had in racing, but probably the most useful in some ways.
The optics not helped when his Brit teammate clattered into him in Singapore, but the same swap was not administered. Geese and gander kind of stuff.
As a team, we can see Lando has to avoid Verstappen, so we won't take any action during the race. We can review further afterwards.
Hey, that's not fair. I'm sorry, that's not fair.
Oscar will have the opportunity to review together afterwards. Focus on this race, mate. We can still have a good result here.
Yeah, but if he has to avoid another car by crashing into his teammate, then that's a pretty job of avoiding.
There were a host of other team-inflicted maladies from McLaren, but ultimately there were enough opportunities for Piastri to clinch the title under his own steam. The upside, he just finished third in the F1 world title race, aged 24. Oscar's been praised for having the superpower of calmness, verging on dull. Now, 2026 is going to be hard. After all, McLaren would be more justified favouring Norris given what he just achieved. But the Victorian is in his prime. He's driving an incredibly fast car with a year of huge lessons under his belt. 15. There's nothing like serious talent leaving one club for another to fire up supporter bases. In the NRL, we had Manly champion Daly Cherry Evans bail on the Sea Eagles after a calamitous contract non-offer from his club and head to crosstown rivals the Roosters. And it wasn't even close to the biggest recruitment scandal of the season. That had to go to Lockie Galvin. The emerging Tigers star shocked the club and his teammates when he said, "Hey, don't even bother offering me a deal because I don't believe I can get better," under club legend and coach Benji Marshall. The Tigers, they insisted he'd have to play out the remaining season and a half of his deal. Senior teammates like Jerome Luai led calls for him to be sent to reserve grade. Now, Phil Gould, Channel 9 pundit and Canterbury football manager, had previously explained his affection for Galvin way back in 2024.
The rookie of the year is Lachlan Galvin. Might be the best teenage footballer I've ever seen. Might be the best. And that's a big statement because I've seen some really, really good ones. Incredible maturity, game knowledge and execution of things that even the greatest playmakers weren't doing at that age.
And he also didn't think the 2025 scenario at the Tigers was going to work out.
I think there are some real red flags around what's happened this week, which is it's going to be hard for him to outlive and outplay, to be honest. I don't know how a 19-year-old man, young boy, is coping with this sort of attention and this sort of untenable situation that he finds himself in.
So when Galvin sought to get to the Dogs, the industry felt as though Gould had pulled a Swiftie. Here he is answering those criticisms.
And when we ask you about these things, is that why you mislead us with what the information is?
What have I misled you on?
Well, the Galvin situation, for
How
one.
did I mislead
Leo Thompson, you said that...
How did I mislead you on Lachlan Galvin?
Gus, you're 3 steps ahead of everyone. To suggest that you didn't think that Galvin...
You say that. How did I mislead you on Lachlan Galvin?
What
Go
you
back
said.
to
You
everything
said you
I've
weren't
ever
interested.
said. What?
You said you weren't interested.
I never at any time said we weren't interested. What I said was...
He's not in
We're
your
on
plans.
a different course. He's not in our plans because he wasn't off contract till 27.
Canterbury were top of the table, and expectation was the 19-year-old would accelerate their push for a premiership. It wasn't how it played out. The Dogs ultimately fell out of the finals with consecutive defeats, and the NRL clearly has not appreciated the entire episode. They've warned clubs against publicly courting rival players before they become a free agent. Good luck policing that. At 14, the AFL community was shattered by the death of Troy Selwood in February. This is a family admired for what they've achieved across multiple clubs in the competition. There's a romance about brothers playing in a sports league for different clubs. Joel, the legendary Geelong premiership winning captain, Scott, who carved out a career at the Cats and West Coast, and twin brothers Adam, a premiership eagle, and Troy, who played 75 games for the Brisbane Lions. His death, aged 40, shook the code. Here was his twin, Adam, at the memorial, speaking about his brother.
Having an identical twin is both a rare privilege and wonderfully complex. A twin is more than a sibling. They're a constant presence, a built-in best mate, and someone who understands you in a way that no one ever could. Troy just wasn't my brother. He was my mirror, my fiercest competitor, my greatest ally, and the one person that I knew that knew what I was always thinking. The connection we shared shaped both of us, and now losing him has left a massive hole in my life.
The heartbreak of the family compounded when Adam was found dead just 3 months later in Perth.
In a statement, Adam's wife Fiona and the Selwood family said words cannot express the grief and sadness we feel. Adam was a loving husband and an incredible father to Lenny and Billy. We are devastated to lose such a wonderful husband, father, son and brother.
If you ever need help, Lifeline's a pretty incredible service, and you can talk about whatever is going on in your life. You can reach them on 13 11 14. Story number 13 for 2025. We knew about Gout before this year, but there was something about the way he rose over the last 12 months that saw him cross over into something transcending sport, a cultural touch point. The beaming grin, the easy confidence, the distinct bouncing running gait, the raw speed that just to look at told you are seeing a real talent, something unique.
Away, got a pretty good start, Gout. Quickly picks up Howard behind him, and then out wide at Kelly. How quick will he be? He's stretching away now. Isn't he beautiful to watch? He did switch off. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Have a look at this.
Olympic silver medalist Peter Norman is someone who carries weight in Australian sporting folklore. So when the 17-year-old broke his Aussie record back in 2024, that was a big deal. But when he bettered that mark on his senior overseas debut in 2025, how could you not be addicted to the Gout Show?
Now expects Amenya to lead into the straight, and Gout then third from left, come back at him once they get into the straight. His first race as a pro in Europe, this from Gout. Now he's got a target. Menya moving away from him, Morizzi in the headband. A battle between these two, and Gout working so hard to get to him, and he gets there. Gout takes it by a metre and moving away. 20.04. Battling all the way. The strongest part of his race is always that last 50.
Sports fans love a prodigy, a golden child, a chosen one that is amplified in Australia with track athletes because we just simply do not see it all that often. The more his team begged us to please not compare him to Usain Bolt, the more obvious the comparisons became. What could this Queenslander do at the Tokyo World Champs with the entire world revved up to see just how talented this prospect might be?
Away, pretty good. Lavelle will get to his shoulder. Let's see how he handles that. Lavelle gets past him. He's got a lot of work to do here, Gout. But behind them, there is Sharamba into the straight. Gout's got to be strong here. He's a long way back. Lavelle in front. He's winding up the first three to go through. Sharamba's there, and he goes through. He was shaky early. He would have been rattled for a moment. And Gout's going to run about 2023. Job done.
Bolt had never got out of the heat at his first major international meet. Gout had managed to do just that. Now, the semi-finals were as far as he got, and it's worth mentioning, Tori Lewis reached the same stage in the ladies. So, from a sprint perspective, things looking exceedingly rosy for Australia. As for Gout, you feel like 2026 and the World Juniors and even the Commonwealth Games could be another level up on what has already been an astonishingly rapid trajectory. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny. 3 more EPs remain as we head to the top of Australian sports stories for 2025. Hope you'll join us soon. Catch you next time. Thanks to F1, 6 Tackles with Gus, Channel 9, Australian Athletics, World Athletics and SBS for the extra audio used in this episode.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.